Okay, hello.
Are we in?
I think we're in. There's
All
some
right.
latency, so we will know for sure in a minute. Anyway, I guess we could just get started like we're going.
Sure. Do you want to do the hello?
We're in.
You do the hello this time.
Hello and welcome back to the pregame, to the first ever pregame thing that we're doing. I'm James. I'm the producer, editor. All around best guy as we discussed before, and I'm joined by the second best guy, Tommy. Tommy, what's up?
I am here and I'm ready to get hurt again.
Get hurt? Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, why don't we go right into it with the general thoughts about how the team's been doing, and then we'll go
Okay.
into like what we think about this game.
All right. Do we have 3 hours
No.
to allot?
Yeah, well,
Uh,
we'll just talk over the game. How
well,
about
first I'm
that?
gonna open with I am wearing a sweatshirt under the jersey because it is cold as hell in this house. But all right, to the actual game and the thoughts going into it. This is a really integral 2 games, very important 2 games for the Isles season. It feels like, um, at least from the fan perspective, that the fans are like just about ready to jump ship already, and I wouldn't have it any other way. That's the way our fan base is. I had somebody trying to goad me into talking about Barry getting fired after and not even after the
Oh, I
Capitals
saw
game.
that. Yeah,
I think that was after the other one. That might have been after the Capitals game. That already feels like it was 3 weeks ago, but um,
putting
I would
this
say the
whole
team.
series in our rear view.
I forgot who it was on Twitter, but there was a good point made. It might have been Stefan Rosen. I hope I got his name right. I don't always see him on Twitter, so it's not like Kerry Haber where the name is burned into my head
Yeah,
because I
right.
see so many of his tweets. But
Or Thomas
uh,
Croza. You know.
but this he was talking about how earlier in the season, uh, although it's very early still, when we got crushed by the Rangers, Barry Trotz decided to trot out, haha, the same team, the same lineup exactly for the Boston game. So maybe we see the exact same lineup tonight. I have been ravaging through Twitter. I haven't seen what the lines are yet, but that's probably because all the beat writers are waiting to see the Isles hit the ice for warm-ups. So it would be interesting. I hope they do keep the lines, which is weird because most people would say, "Hey, but don't they suck now?" You said it in your video the other day, and yeah, they kind of suck at the moment. But I do think that that third line had something going, and I also don't think it's the third line that lost the game. So I think seeing Wallstrom play again, seeing Bellows, Pajot on that third line at least gives us some sort of excitement.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do? We talked about in our last weekly recap that Pajot like needed some help
Oh
on
yeah.
that line, and we also said that um, Barry. It's maybe it's time. I hope it isn't too early to play all your cards, but it's time to play the Wallstrom and Bellows and Pajot third line card. And guess what? It looked good the other day. It was one of the only things that looked good,
Mm-hmm.
but it looked
I of
good.
course missed the first period, so I was like, where all the aisle scoring happened. I couldn't watch the game.
Yeah,
So,
I was at my friends. I was at Dan's house watching
geez,
the
brag about
Islanders
it.
game.
I wasn't
Well,
invited. Anyway, so
but we were back and forth watching the Islanders and Rangers,
mhm.
and so I had like a 3 minute span where the Isles had just given up the empty netter, and then the Rangers won in overtime. So
Oh
I felt like a
no.
real piece of manure.
Yeah,
Um, Kid friendly.
got to keep it clean. So
Um,
okay, just quick question then about the lines, because I'm a much newer hockey fan. You got me really invested in the Isles more so last
mhm.
season, and so I think I'm starting. This is a guess. The coach's role during the game would be, I would think, to try
Scream.
and to scream, right? Yeah, motivate the players.
Nah, that's the fans.
So is to like kind of figure out which lines work well against the opponent's team's lines.
Yeah,
Because I mean, you'd expect like the top lines. Like you might not want to play your line against their top line, right? You might want to play, in our case, the fourth line against their top line because then like we can wear them down, like
yeah.
that kind of
That's
idea,
that's the chess match part
right?
of coaching.
And so that's why when Barry starts kind of doing his blending with the lines, like you have
Mhm.
talked about that, it's I don't know if it's more like desperation mode, like you're like trying to find something that works because nothing seems to be working at the moment, or if it's something that's he's like I think you had mentioned at one point, like you're almost like kind of punishing the players to a small degree because you're like you don't get to play with your line mates. You know what I mean? Like you're not
Yeah, I think
doing
it
it.
depends on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
What you're describing, like, yeah, the blender is sometimes it's to get guys going, and then, or I should say, line movements in general. Sometimes it's to get certain guys going, or it's to better round out the lineup if you're a team that's top heavy with scoring, or like the last one that you mentioned, where it's kind of punishment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that could be Barzal taking an offensive zone penalty.
Right,
That could
right.
be anybody but Komarov. Komarov's allowed to take offensive zone penalties. By the way, Johnston is the only Islander not on the ice for warm-ups, according to Arthur Staples. So
Interesting.
that
So
means
wait, is Dow Cole on?
he's yeah, that must mean he's on the ice.
Yeah.
Today, we made a flurry of moves, and we called. So we had sent Wallstrom and Bellows back to the taxi squad, called them back up today. It seems like a lot of paperwork moves. So usually during a season, we'd see those moves and we'd like go, oh my God, they sent so-and-so down. But this year, since there's that middle taxi squad where it's not getting sent down to the minors, it's like something in between.
Yeah.
And also because there's like, they're kind of playing with the cap a little bit this year. By sending guys down at certain times. And so we can't overreact to all those that we see. The only time that you're allowed to overreact is once like it is confirmed, like Sorokin. Sorokin got sent down to the taxi squad the other day along with Bells and Wallstrom. And you could have overreacted at the time and said, all three of them, oh my God. But two of them just got called back up today. But Sorokin wasn't one of them. So if you're someone that really thinks Sorokin should still be backing up Varley, then you're probably now it's the time to be angry.
Well, okay, so that kind of goes into the next thing we want to talk about then was specific player standouts, I guess maybe for good or for bad. So question kind of about Sorokin, we saw him only playing 2 games so far.
Yeah.
What's the like how long had he had to practice with the team before the start of the season?
Well, he was actually with the team during the playoffs last year.
Right. Yeah.
Getting acquainted with the guys on the team and the coaching staff. He's done an amazing job at learning English. That's pretty cool. That's got to be a tough crossover, Russian to English.
Apparently, literally Russian and English are the 2 toughest languages to learn.
Yeah,
like from what I've heard,
especially like if there are numbers in your language, I'm going to struggle.
Yeah, right.
But yeah,
different characters. Yeah.
So that last year, I think it was a lot of it was just getting, into getting familiar with the NHL mindset, the NHL rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he wasn't playing Sorokin in the bubble in Toronto and then Edmonton. This year, he was there on time for camp, so he's got the regular practice in, and he's been preparing as if he'd be the number 2. Throughout the whole training camp period. And I think it's, he's one of the guys I haven't been as hard on yet. Or, well, I mean, like, I've had criticism, but I'm not, like, jumping ship yet.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's a little bit different because it's more worrying than, like, a 21-year-old goalie coming up and playing for the first time.
That makes a lot. Yeah.
He is 25.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's brand new. He is brand new to the NHL. So that's where I allow, I go, all right, there's some leeway here. He's got to get used to different angles for shots, different size of the ice. I'm sure.
It seems like, like his rebound control is probably what a lot of people have been talking about.
And I guess one of the only things that I was worried when I would always see the highlight reels of him over in Russia was I saw him making a ton of acrobatic, 10 bell saves, like ridiculously good saves. But I guess it was more, even though I saw those and those are like really good to get you hyped, you're like, okay, let me see the positional play.
Yeah, good point.
Let me see him make something
like the consistent save
that should have been hard,
mm-hmm.
or could have been hard. Like, like in soccer, sometimes goalies like dive, and it looks theatrical, for not for like a penalty kick, but for like a regular shot. And I'm a goalie in soccer, so I like to liken it to that, in that like sometimes you even after you make a big save, you kind of like are angry at yourself because you're like, I shouldn't have had to make a big save. I put myself in a bad position. Positionally, I could have caught that. I took a bad step, or like I was flat-footed. Then I had to make a diving save, and now there's a corner. So where I think you could translate that to hockey is my positioning was a little bit off. I made a great save, but maybe I kicked the rebound right back out to the middle. So for Sorokin, I think it's tough because we want him to learn, we want him to progress, and for that to happen, I think he needs to be on the ice playing games. But at the same time, the team is in win now mode, and they can't really wait for guys to like figure their thing out. That's where it kind of benefits to be a team like Ottawa right now, where they have a lot of young guys, but they're supposed to be terrible, their team. So they you just keep putting them out there, getting them experience, and even if the results aren't there, you're like, well, the season was supposed to be a progression season anyway. For the Islanders, it's a win now situation because we have our whole core locked down contract wise pretty much. And so now it's like, all right, patience is a little bit thin. You have to get things going. We're seeing critiques of coaching staff that I don't think we've seen.
I definitely agree with that.
And I do think it's fair to an extent. I think some of it goes a little bit over. We had a comment on our last video that it was a guy that said he's been watching hockey for decades, and
shout out to that guy.
Yeah, he said he thinks that Lou is a mediocre GM. At least I don't know if I fully agree, but I can at least hear that conversation because there's we're a little bit bogged down. We don't have he tends to overpay role guys a little bit, and I think that's a fair criticism. And I think even fans of Lou would be like, yeah, Leo Komarov getting 3 years, $3 million a year isn't good, even when he wasn't all the way done, like I think he is now. But the one that was harder to reckon with was the guy was saying that Trotz is like a mid-tier coach, and even at my most frustrated with Trotz, I wouldn't dare say he's mid-tier. I would say he's got, maybe there are some coaches that like have his number. Peter Laviolette.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah. And even teams, I mean, the Caps, they know the way he coaches, so it's like they could kind of like just have that little bit of insight.
Yeah, they had a similar comeback to what happened the other night last year. Remember, we were up 3-0 at the Coliseum, and we lost that game, and Devontae's did the bird, and we lost.
Oh my God.
It was really embarrassing.
Imagine if we still had Devontae's. I would blame him even if he didn't do anything.
Yeah. I think the fan base is kind of in a very difficult spot right now because it feels like different people are in different states of decay when it comes to their thoughts on the season. I've seen one person clearly, I won't say a name, but it's a journalist that the Islanders are his team, and it seems like he's already given up on them, and he's like, oh, I'm not even counting this as a season. Like, this is a joke season. It's a short season. Who cares? Last year was a shortened season by COVID, and then we had like a weird playoff format. So I think if you were going to say this year is a joke, you'd have to say last year ended up as a joke, and you'd have to say that last year's Islander team was a fluke. And so I think you catch this guy in a little bit of a like not talking out of both sides of his mouth, because that makes it sound nefarious, but I think maybe a little bit inconsistent because look, these guys are going to go out there and give it their all every single night. Yeah. I don't think it's fair to say this season's a joke. Like, the players are never going to say that because the players care, and they're going to show up every game. They might not show up, play well, but I don't think I still don't think the Islanders on this team are not giving it.
I would say just based on what I know from how the Islanders have done the past 2 seasons, right? I think a lot of people, probably including Islanders fans, I know you've talked about this a lot in the past, have been waiting to call it a fluke that they made the playoffs the past 2 seasons, and especially last season made it to whatever the conference finals and stuff. So, so I think this guy, whoever the guy that was the guy that was commenting saying Lou might not be a good GM, all that stuff, he could have been waiting to say that. He could have always thought that and just been waiting for every opportunity to kind of say it.
You can pick out those people on Twitter, by the way.
Yeah.
There are some people. There's a guy that vehemently hates Josh Bailey, and it's very clear that he's always waiting for things
Yeah.
to happen. Like, so
It's
he
like
must have
confirmation
waited.
bias at its
Yeah,
highest. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you're
You're
waiting
starting
for the moments where
backwards.
they're doing what you have been saying, telling everybody that they've been doing, right?
Yeah,
Exactly, starting backwards. And
you're
so,
working backwards from your conclusion. Josh
mhm.
Bailey is terrible, so I will wait for the moment where he's bad and then go, he's always been bad. Can you
Yeah,
prove me otherwise?
yeah, right.
Um, and
But
and
what about
so
the great play he made where, it was goal scoring play or whatever? And you're like,
yeah,
what are you talking about?
yeah. I think part of that also is like if a player gets a reputation, it's hard to get rid of it.
Mm,
So Bailey being seen as a bust early on in his career by a lot of people, and then kind of starting to win people over, starting like 2014-15 area.
it could also
Uh,
be because he's had such a long career with the
yeah,
Isles.
close to 900 games.
It's like because of that, like the fan base kind of turns over to a degree. So it's like you have new
Sure.
fans coming in that didn't know him when he
Mhm.
was a younger player. So
Yeah, I think younger fans probably really like him
hmm
because he's been very good over the last few years. And even in a game like the other night where he like wasn't necessarily very good, and this season he's had a bad start. Like let's be honest, but like he does have like there are the moments where you go, okay, well he's contributing in ways that don't equal points. He blocked a
yeah.
couple shots on the the 5 minute penalty from uh, Leo.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, Bailey had a good PK there. So I think sometimes the fan base when we're in a tough spot, um, people get a little bit panicky. And I'm not going to say they don't have the right to. I'm a little bit panicky right now. Honestly, I feel like if we lose these two games, we're like heading for seventh place. Well, we're in seventh place, but like we're heading for like a seventh place season finish because it just doesn't. I like this. I think it's fair to say this team has to win now because there's like there's going to be a lot of turnover in a couple years,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah,
have
right.
all
Like
their
we're at the
guys locked
point.
up.
Exactly. We're at the point. The team's at the point where it's just like, if you start losing one piece, like you get to the point where it's just like this is the last season we have somebody
With this
with.
group.
Exactly. Yeah. Like as a whole. So okay. So then, kind of moving on. Two
Oh,
questions because
I didn't really say player standouts. I'm sorry.
No, I know.
I
Well,
got
because we
sidetracked.
were talking about briefly Sorokin, and then that kind of turned into like
Yeah.
everything
Do
criticism
you want me
towards
to
the
give
clean
you like a
team.
quick bit before we move on?
I do, but I also want you to just answer my one question. Then
Okay.
it is like in the same vein of player
I
standouts.
don't want you to run away from my question.
Yeah.
Answer the
Stop
question.
dodging the questions that I didn't ask yet. So Varley in the where he it wasn't all his fault, but he let up 5 goals in the
Sure.
Caps
Yeah.
game in like a few minutes, right?
Yeah.
So how many of those do you think were Varley's, and then which you did talk about a little bit in the recap, and then how many
Mhm.
did you think were just on the players not protecting
Okay.
him?
There was one that was clearly on Varley. There was one for sure, and then from there, the rest of them were. It was like a. It's like I said. It wasn't like one play because a lot of them were shots from the point that were getting taped
Yeah.
in, or there was traffic in front. And on those, it's more of a team effort because we would ice the puck on plays where we did not have to rush it. Like we rushed passes. Maybe we were trying to break out too quickly and we missed the pass and it turns into an icing. The faceoff comes back into your own zone. You lose the faceoff. Now you're tired because you can't change after an icing. And now the other team gets a lot of zone time moving around the
Yeah.
corpses of your tired selves. So on a
Okay.
lot of the goals, that was the case. And it was more Varley was like, Mamma mia.
So
What am I gonna do?
okay, that's fair. No, I would agree with that.
And the one that was his fault, unfortunately, was the tying one, which was probably it was probably the straw that broke the camel's back because we're up 3-2 at that point, and even though we're reeling, like the players on the ice are clearly in shock mode, as
Yes.
they called it. There was a pass over the top, and Pellich got back and he covered it fine. It was Garnett Hathaway, I think, for the Caps, and he's coming in from like a not a great angle, and he shoots it right at Varley, and Varley just misses it, just goes in.
Yeah.
And you could see from Varlamov's reaction.
Well, it looked
he
like
knows it was on him.
it looked like it hit his blocker, but didn't. Like it still
Yeah.
was.
So
It
it's
didn't
kind of like
deflect it
that
enough.
Sorokin one we talked about
Yeah.
in the Ranger game where he couldn't get the arms together, like to like they say for a goalie, when they don't know where the puck is to just tighten up
Hmm.
so that like you might have it, just don't drop it. In that situation, it was like getting the puck to stick to you, and obviously it's a lot harder. Like if anybody on Twitter says I could have saved that, like shut up,
Right.
because it's still a professional player taking a wrist shot right at you. You and your beer league are not stopping that. However, he is a professional. Varley has been excellent to start the year. You
Yeah.
would expect him to stop that. And that felt like that was the one where it was like, oh, okay, we're going to lose.
Okay.
Uh, yeah.
So one thing then, Isles X Cats, which I think I've seen on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Um. Uh. Yeah, I think I've seen them on Twitter.
Do we have a
They.
question?
Yeah. No. It just said in the chat. They said Bailey needs to put his tinted visor back on. Tinted visor Bailey is elite.
Yeah,
And
no,
yeah, I would agree.
I would agree. I think that was peak last year when he had the tinted visor. Was probably
Yeah.
at the Panthers game I was at, where that was what made me think, oh, when he closes his eyes and shoots, he's amazing.
Yeah. Right.
He like was getting knocked down and decided to throw a wrister, and it went top corner, and I'm like, Joshua, where
But
did that come
you know
from?
what's interesting is now Lee has a tinted visor,
Hey, he's been
and he's
scoring.
been pretty good. I
The
don't think he
first
stands
line,
out as
yeah.
much as like I want him to, but like I feel like he's been doing a lot, contributing a lot.
Yeah, graded on a curve, which is the rest of the team's play recently.
Yeah.
Lee has been pretty decent. The first line has been good. We only have 11 goals this year, and Barzal has been involved in 7. So Barzal has been great. So you
Hmm.
have to give him that. Eberle, I think, has like 5 points. In 7 games, that's pretty good. And Lee has 4 points, 3 goals. I'll
So
take it.
yeah.
So that first line is basically doing everything, and I think it's fair. One of the things that Barry said the other night that I agreed with, because there's some stuff that I didn't, was that he said we're a one-line team on offense, and that's absolutely true at the moment. Without Bo on the second line, and he was struggling anyway, but that playoff chemistry has it's long eroded. Not to say it can't come back, but
Yeah.
while
I don't
we
know.
have no Bailey, somebody else is going to have to step up. Or
Bo.
sorry,
Yeah.
while we have no Bo.
Okay. So then, any other player standouts? Lightning round.
Okay. Dobson. I love Dobson. He's doing a great job. He only had the one really bad game. It's just a shame that it was as bad as it was because he's been amazing otherwise. Lee, I've liked his effort, and I think he's playing to his strength, which is getting his chin and his butt in people's faces.
Yes.
Who else has been?
Wait. Who?
Barzal's been very, very
Oh,
good.
who was the boy chin wonder?
Pollock.
That was Pollock. Yeah.
And he might not play tonight. He's a game time decision, although he was mentioned to be on the ice by Arthur Staples, so maybe he'll play.
Why not? Is he okay?
So the other day he took a knee to knee.
Oh, that's right.
Collision.
Yeah.
They called him.
They called a penalty on him. Yeah, I know.
But I don't think he would risk his knee for that. I haven't watched the replay, so I'm not going to make a claim I don't know about. But my first view of it the other day was that it was not a great call, but I can at least be like, all right, well, who cares? The game's over.
Yeah.
As long as he's okay, as long as he's healthy. And also, he got hurt on it. I don't think he was purposely trying to do that. Anyway,
Yeah, right.
But other players that have stood out, that's pretty much it. Really,
All right.
the fourth
All right.
line
We're moving on.
hasn't been
We're
there.
we're
Sure.
moving on then.
All
So
right.
then, Flyers. What do you think the Flyers like? How do you think the Flyers have been doing, and how do you think roughly like their whole system has been working?
They're in a
stuff like
tough
that?
spot right now. They lost their center. They're one of their best centers, probably their best center, Sean Couturier, who plays a really good two-way game. So their offense has been struggling a little bit. They're benching Travis Konechny tonight,
Right.
and he has only had something like 1 shot over the last 3 games. I think he's got like 5 goals on the year in 8 games, but like he's been invisible the last couple games. And Philly's trying to mix things up. The coaching matchup will be interesting because as we all know, we met them in the playoffs last year. We beat them in 7, but we were up 3-1, and then Alain Vigneault, almost for the second time in his career, flipped a 3-1 deficit to a Trotz coach team. So these coaches are a good matchup against each other. They seem to like get the best of each other back and forth. Like it's really back and forth. And last year we swept them in the regular season, so there might be some anger from Philly that they might want to take out on us, given that last year we beat them in the playoffs and we swept them in the regular season series. So I think there's some animosity and Philly is going to come out probably pretty pumped.
That's unfortunately how I felt about the Cap series too. So
Yeah, the teams
hopefully,
are lining up. The teams that we beat in the playoffs are lining up to like give us some, give us some,
like
give
payback
us
or
some back.
revenge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
payback.
But okay, cool. So um, who knows? Maybe that'll mean that like if they beat us in the beginning of the season, then it's like all right, we're even again. Like
Yeah,
they don't have to like come out with a vengeance when they're playing
yeah,
against
yeah.
us.
We let us. Islanders going. Oh, this is from Arthur Staple right now. Islanders going with the same lineup as Thursday. Komarov in, Dowcole, Johnston, Aho out. So that sounds like Komarov is going to play on the second line again, and I hate that a lot. But it does mean that that third line stays intact. I saw somebody on Twitter say,
Mm.
um,
I
you
guess
know,
yeah.
you
Without Bo, now it's like assuming Wallstrom, and that whole third line stays like that with the kids and Pajot, then the second line now becomes a problem without Bo.
yeah.
So
Listen. You can get some of what you want, but you're not allowed to
yeah.
get everything you want. That's what somebody on Twitter said. I think
Was it Isles X Cats?
No, I think it might have been Carrie Haber again. But anyway, regardless, as we are 3 minutes from 7, I'm gonna say that Komarov should be out. Dowcole should be in.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
I think Dowcole has only. Yeah, I think he's only played one game this year, but that one game, I thought he was somewhat positively noticeable.
But I also think Dowcole has more just a higher potential.
Upside.
Yeah. Like Komarov, like we kind of know we know what to expect from him.
Exactly. Yeah.
Dowcole, it's like still like I think how old is he? Is he 24?
He's like 24, 25.
Yeah.
So the hope is fading, but I think it's still like I if there was any time for him to step up,
Right. That's
this
exactly what I
would've
was
been a
thinking.
great, opportunity for him, and this is one of the things that Barry loves Komarov, and I just don't get it.
I don't know. It's like one of those things where it's just like if you meet the guy, you probably love him, but like when you don't know him as a person and like you just see the kind of like things he does, like that's like a weird thing in psychology that I heard about. Anyway, moving on. We will finish now. We'll start first goal. Who do you think will be the first goal? Isles or Flyers?
I'm gonna say the. Oh God, let's hope the Isles get the first goal. It feels like if they don't get the first goal, the game's over.
We're screwed.
I'm gonna say first goal comes from, let's call it. Let's say it's Bellows.
Okay.
Wallstrom got his the other day, and it was an ugly one, but they all count. I'm gonna say Bellows. That line gets going.
Interesting. I think that's a good bet because I don't think the second line is going to produce too much.
Yeah. If Komarov scores first, I'll I'll give the channel up to someone.
Yeah, give it to Komarov. He'll want it.
I'll email him leo@gmail.com.
I like that a lot. I'm gonna counter you. I'm gonna say the fourth line goes first. I don't know who. I'll just pick a name. Cizikas because he's my favorite player.
He got his first
one of my favorites. Komarov is not my favorite player. Yeah, and it was not Isles X Cats that tweeted whatever you said. What were you talking? Yeah, he said in the chat. What was the thing you said? The tweet you saw? I already forgot.
Which one? I've cited several.
I'm the worst. Anyway, all right, moving on. So I'm gonna say Cizikas gets the first goal, and then hopefully it's not the Flyers that get the first goal. And then what do you think the score will be? How do you think this game will round out?
Oh man, it's hard to say, isn't it? Because like we're coming off a game where we got annihilated, so you'd think that our defense would be good. I'm gonna say that happens. I'm gonna say that Barry threatened some people's lives in the locker room at the end of the last game, and I'm gonna say that the Isles win 3-1 with the third goal being an empty netter. So it's kind of the classic 2-1 game to the last minute, and we get an empty netter.
That's a really interesting. That's way more specific than I was thinking. I was gonna think I don't know. How's the Flyers' defense? Because I was thinking this game might be low scoring.
It's pretty good. Although their goaltending has been kind of iffy so far.
Mm-hmm. But okay, yeah. So I'll agree with you on that. I'll say 3-1. But the last goal is not an empty netter. Change it up a little bit. All right.
I would prefer that.
Yeah.
That's more fun.
And then
that shows a little bit more offensive prowess.
And then there's one more question I had, but I lost it. It's gone. It's gone forever. So it's 7:00, and I actually just got an ESPN update that the game started, but that's probably not the puck drop.
I wouldn't think so.
I'd be surprised if they started exactly at 7.
Yeah, I usually they're like 7:10.
Yeah. So, all right. Any closing thoughts? Any hopes? Oh, I guess we are gonna be back. Or we're trying. I don't know. We're trying out the live stream and things. You know, you got to live with the times, right? And so, we're gonna try and live stream again after the game. Just talk about how the game went, and
Yep.
obviously anybody can be involved. So, any closing thoughts? Any hopes and dreams that you're waiting to be smashed or hopefully
I
fulfilled?
if we come out and we play really badly, I think they should trade everyone.
Yeah.
No, I do think this is a
No, with your luck, it would be they
yeah.
would trade everybody except Komarov. Like
Yeah.
Komarov would
Well,
say,
nobody's going to take Komarov at this
"That's
point. Let's
true."
be
Yeah.
honest. Although, to Isles Katz, who was in our chat
Mm-hmm.
and might still be, the Panthers got rid of Matheson, and he was like their worst defender. So who's to say the Isles can't get rid of their worst player?
That's true.
Yeah. So
That's
that's
true.
my thing.
But all right.
Yep.
So I think we will leave it at that. I'm gonna stop the stream and then I don't know if I could like revitalize the same stream. I don't think I can. I think it's gonna be a new stream after
Isn't
the game.
that like the revive thing from BioShock?
Yes,
The
definitely.
revive
You got
a
it.
chamber.
You got it.
Vita chamber.
All right, we got to end this before it gets too late. All right.
All right.
Thank you for the few people that watched. We appreciate it. And if you want to be involved, reach out to us.
Few thousand. 2,000.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Okay, I think it's over. Stream finished.